Hey there, Mr. Bean here. So what we're going to do very quickly is actually write our very first Java program. So what I will be using is the repl.it IDE. So IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. It is just software, either online through the cloud or something you can download onto your physical computer that allows you to develop, run, and debug code on the fly. So it's very useful. It's what all developers use. If I wanted to, I could go into a text file, write this, and then do some funky stuff in the command line, and then run a program. But this is an easy way, very quick way to do it. So you can see here on the left, we have our files. This will become more important later on in the course. Here is going to be where we're going to do all our work. This is our workspace where we're going to do all our programming. And then here is the console. So this is going to tell us errors. It's also going to output things. So if we have this program output text, it's going to send it here as well. And up here you can see we can run the program itself. So let's go ahead and create our very first Java program. Every Java program begins with a class. So a class is, for now, just the simplest term, it's just a program. We'll add more to that definition later. There are actually multiple meanings to that definition. But for now, it is just going to be a program. And so every time we create a Java, we have to give it a class name. So it always, it's going to do class, and then we give it the name main. And the reason why I'm naming it main is because this is what the name of the file is. So for repl, for specific circumstances in repl, we are always going to have a main class. That's just what repl limits us with. So we're going to have to work with it. Now, once you create your class, you do an open curly brace, and you can see that repl automatically added a closed curly brace, and I'm going to press enter just to create a new line. So repl does this auto formatting for us. So this is going to be our main class. And so whatever code we're going to write needs to be inside these two curly braces here. So it needs to be in between those two curly braces. So the next line that we're going to make, you're going to get very used to typing. It's going to be what's called our main method, or driver method. So it's going to be public static void main string, and then square brackets, open and close, and then args. And then we do another curly brace. So again, for now, we're just typing this stuff in. We will start asking what every piece of this line here means. We'll know by the end of the course what public means. We'll know what static means. We'll know what this void is telling us. We'll know what main is. All this we will know by the end of the course what all this is. But for now, we're just trying to get a program to run successfully. So let's go ahead and type that line. So what I'm going to show you now, just very quickly, is the idea of commenting. So as you're developing code, it's going to get very complicated. You know, you're going to have multiple people using it. So you want to be able to maybe comment and let other people know, or maybe to let your future self know what you're trying to do with that particular part of the program. So what we can do is we can do a comment where if you do a two forward slashes and then type something after that, Java is not going to read that. It's just going to ignore it. So we'll say that this is the main class. Okay, so Java will just ignore this portion of the code. We can also do one here. This is the driver method. Again, we'll talk about what a method is later. I'm going to kind of move this in a tad. We'll talk about what a method is later, but this is the driver method. So you're always going to have a file that has this information in here. The main class, and then the main method that runs all your programs. And the reason for that is because as we are creating and developing code, we're actually going to have more than one file. So all these other files are going to have code in there that we're then going to call inside this main file and then run the program. So let's actually start creating our first program. So this is just the basics. So if I want to output something to the console, then it's a very simple statement. It is system, a capital S, dot out dot print, and then inside here we do double quotes, and then you can see it's already adding another one for us, and we just say something. Let's just say hello world. Okay, so This here is a statement. It is telling the computer to actually do something, and we're telling it to print out hello world. Now, just like in English, where we end our sentences or statements with a period, we also have to end this statement with something, and that's going to be a semicolon. So that's what Java recognizes as the end of a statement. That's how it knows it's reached the end of a command, essentially. So I can run this program. Let's see what happens. Now, it may take a second because what the computer is doing is it's actually sending your program to repl.it server. The server is the one that's doing all the work, and then it's sending it back to you. So it may take a second to actually get your program back to you and in working condition, but we can see here that it does print back a hello world. All right, so let's add another statement. So system.out.print, let's do how are you? All right, and then don't forget that semicolon. Let's run it. So we run this. You should see, again, it takes just a couple seconds, but once it finally returns, we see we have an issue here. It is printing everything in a single line. Well, remember that when we do programming, you have to be very specific, right? English language can be very ambiguous. Sometimes we misunderstand people. We do not want that to happen in a programming language when we're trying to complete a task. So if I want to go to a new line, I have to tell the computer to go to a new line. And there's a couple ways to do that. We'll do just one in this video. So to do that, we can change this first print statement into a print ln. So what this is telling it to do is, hey, print out hello world and then make a new line. So we run this program. It takes a second because it's got to do that communication between the servers. And once we finally get that output, we see it says, hello world, new line, how are you? All right. So just to recap, what we've done is we talked about the main class. This always has to be here in repl.it. We have our driver method. This is what will actually run our program whenever we're working on stuff. And then we've talked about a couple very simple commands to print something out to screen. And we've also did some commenting so that you can keep up with your work. Because later on you could have hundreds of lines of code and you want to know what you were doing there and so on. All right, Mr. Bean out.